Welcome to Scoop Order. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys have had a great week. We got Friday tomorrow, Fun Day Friday. We're really excited about that. It's Arnold Classic weekend here in Columbus. A legend is retiring. Clay Hall is hanging up his final day on the job at ABC6. And Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles' grand plans for the first week of spring ball. Spring ball kicks off next Tuesday. We're going to get into all that and a little bit of testing results. So as always, we appreciate you guys kicking it with us each and every night. Again, the top Ohio State podcast per the rankings and per everyone that we use to track the numbers. It's all thanks to you guys. This is a great show and a huge show because you guys make it a huge show. We appreciate that each and every night. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click that little alert bell. If you have friends that like Ohio State football and support Ohio State football, please tell them about the show. Tell them to tune in because we are getting a nice numbers every night. So thank you for spreading the good word. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. As always, we appreciate this. And we are going to get right into this per usual. Nevada, a legend, is retiring. Clay Hall's final day. I think the finest media personality to ever cover Ohio State, the most knowledgeable, professional, the guy who's, I think, this is the best. Final day, got to interview Chip Kelly. You actually see Chip Kelly in full regalia and Ryan Day at the Woody Hayes. A lot of information is coming out about what's going on. I feel for the grad assistants, it was funny. Bill O'Brien was here for a few weeks and changed a lot of terminology in the offense in the few weeks, kind of did his edits on the playbook. And then as they finished up the edits, which took a lot of time to do, I'm talking like an entire weekend of work, like probably a good 30 hours of work, he left. So as they're finishing it up, so they get to redo everything, and they did it with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's changing our system, our kind of how the verbiage to the offense to make things go faster. Nevada, your thoughts on Chip Kelly's first real kind of dialed-in week at Ohio State? Again, some of these guys are at the Combine. Some of these guys are at Ohio State getting some work in. But your thoughts on Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles and what they're doing to get ready for next week's first week of spring football?
Well, a couple of things. One, yeah, Chip's going to a number system, and the idea is to try to break down the verbiage. We've talked about how they want to go fast, they want to use tempo as a weapon, but the only way that you can do that is if you can communicate the plays. You quickly. We all know the challenges of communicating the plays from the sideline to the field, but when you're out there, everybody got to know what the call is and where they got to go and what they got to do. And Chip's trying to go to a numbering system, try to shorten some things up so they can go faster. And you call it a number, and everybody knows. You just kind of go to the line and run your stuff. That is one way that you can use tempo to great effect, and it'll be interesting to see how that works. I think Bill O'Brien was cognizant of not wanting to change too much, but as you mentioned, even when you don't change that much, even when you run the Ohio State offense with the Bill O'Brien terminology, some things change, and that takes a lot of time. Well, now you've got the Chip Kelly influence coming in, so everything's being kind of turned on its head, and it's it's going to be a interesting challenge for the offensive staff, for the offensive players to kind of pick things up, and we're going to see which guys can really process this the quickest, and those are people that are going to be getting the playing time, and along those lines. One thing that's really interesting, with this veteran squad, Ryan Day has really made a point of going to Knowles and to Chip Kelly and saying, look, I want you to sit down with the guys and talk to them and really get a sense about what they like to run. What do they like to do? What things are they comfortable doing? For the defensive lineman, how do they like to get after the quarterback? For the offensive lineman, what type of blocking schemes do they like to run? And so this is probably a time when I've seen they're asking for more input than at any point that I can ever remember. And it probably is a tip of the hat to the fact that we have a veteran squad. So you want to get that input. You might not want to do it as much with a bunch of first-time starters or a younger team. But, man, this is a veteran team with a ton of starts across the board on both sides of the ball. And, the coordinators are making full effect of that, really trying to get connected to the players in a meaningful way and really asking the players about what they think and what they think is best. And I think it's great. It'll be interesting to see how much of that gets implemented in the spring and following into the fall. But Chip Kelly is certainly hitting the ground running, and his effect is going to be felt on the offense, and it's going to be felt quickly. And I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think it's important when you're a play caller, a coach. Obviously, it's way different with Chip and Jim Knowles, just because of the lack of experience that Chip Kelly has with the guys. But I think it's important to figure out what guys like to do, what they don't like to do, because if there's certain stuff that the players don't truly believe in, it's hard for it to be effective. Now, granted, it's still a dictatorship. Don't get this wrong. Like for Jim Knowles and Chip Kelly, they're still running the show. It's not like the players get to vote on like, ooh, let's call this play or this play. But it's always good to hear feedback on what plays, what coverages, what rushing packages. If you're a defensive lineman, what are the things that you feel are the most optimal for your skill set and the most optimal for the team? Because again, like sometimes, like we'd run certain plays when I was a player, and I'd say that play stinks. It never works. This guy can't make that block. This guy can't run that route. The quarterback can't make that throw. And again, it's not being negative. It's just, there's certain plays that when you call it like, oh yeah, this is going to work. This is going to, like certain blitz packages, like if AJ Hawk is like the key blitzer, he's going to get home because he runs a 4.40 and he's really good. And Schlegel's good at taking out the blocker, and AJ's good at looping around and getting home to the quarterback. Again, there's all a lot of cause and effect. And sometimes maybe it's just to reaffirm what you already know as a play caller. But sometimes it's surprising. You might say, well, I want to can this player or call this play less or not run this play at all. And you might have like one of your star players, maybe like Trey Henderson, says, no, I think that play is really good. I think that now that we've got the Will Howard, we got a quarterback that can run like Will Howard, who, again, I was told again today, very impressive physically, tall, looks the part, competitive, great leader. I think he's a guy that has as much upside as any quarterback in the country, because again, he's moving from an offense and skill players that frankly aren't generally NFL level to a place where all of your skill guys are NFL level. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a jump he makes. Again, outside of like Jordy Nelson and Deuce Vaughn or Darren Sproles, like Kansas State isn't exactly some sort of turnstile that launches you straight into the NFL as a skill guy. So again, now he's going to go to a place where all your receivers and all your running backs are going to be big time NFL players. So, I mean, again, I think he's going to uptick in a significant way. I think like with Jim Knowles, it's just good to hear that he really wants to break something that isn't broken. I think sometimes when you have these gaudy numbers, when you're the number 2 defense in the entire country and you shut down most teams, you're really close. Like, do you get complacent and do you kind of stay in the same spot? Or do you kind of break what you did last year and really try to improve it? Because again, when you're number 2 in the country on offense or defense, it's easy to get complacent. It's easy to say, well, these calls worked last year, so they'll work again this year. The hard thing to do is say, look, let's really like dive down deep and really get good and really self-scout and really figure out why things worked or didn't work and how we could get more proficient at attacking certain teams, i.e. Michigan. And some of these other teams, obviously the Missouri game, I don't even count anymore. But, I mean, we were really close to winning every game we played last year. And how do you take it to that next level? And again, like I said, the biggest thing that this team is going to fight is complacency, just because they were good last year. A lot of guys coming back, a lot of preseason hype, and it's on the coordinators and Ryan Day and Mickey Marotti to kind of break that complacency beast. Nevada, who are you most excited to hear about in the first week of spring ball next year? Because obviously, the quarterback and Caleb Downs are the 2 guys everyone's going to be watching. It'll be interesting to see how much work certain guys get, because I don't expect to see a ton of JT, a ton of Jack Sawyer, Ty Leak. Some of these guys that are tried and true guys, especially on defense, I think they'll be limited, especially the guys that came back, Denzel Burke. There's a lot of young guys that need to get out there and stretch their legs a little bit and get some reps. But who are you most excited to hear about next week? Because spring ball starts literally next Tuesday is the first practice.
Well, I was talking to the second Wiseman today, put up a little nugget on some stuff on BuckeyeScoop.com, talking about his kind of observations and his thoughts. And, I was going back through my notes. One of the names that we've talked about him a little bit. We've touched on him a little bit, but I don't think he gets nearly enough run is Ty Hamilton. I mean, Ty Hamilton is going to be a load on the inside. And, he's got kind of an interesting career arc where he's kind of come I don't say just been a guy, because he's actually flashed, made some plays, but he's pretty much flown under the radar. And as good as Mike Hall was a little undersized. Ty Hall, a little bit, a lot stouter. Big body, hard to move. Obviously, Davon's brother, and we've talked about how good he's been in the NFL, and I mean, how much money is that guy going to make? 150, 250 million dollars in the NFL. I don't think anybody saw that coming out of Ohio State. Even they thought he was a good player, but Ty is really somebody that he won the body transformation award last year coming into from the winter into the spring. But this year, man, he is just a big boy. I mean, everything about him is big and solid, and he's just he's ready to be shoved into the line right there and be a stalwart. And he's a guy I'm looking for. I think he's a guy that could move from who was that guy to, wow, that guy's dominant. That guy should get some postseason consideration. Wow, that guy could be all Big Ten. I think he's that good. I think he can make that kind of a move. And he's one of my players at the top of my list, and I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I think that as little as we rotate the D-line, he's the guy that I think could put up major numbers. Again, Mike Hall is going to have a nice NFL career, but was a liability in the running game. He'd admit it just because he was light. He got launched. He got real light at the end of the season. I think that you look at what Ty Hamilton brings to the table in terms of physicality, just stopping the run. I think that the biggest question is who's the third guy? Is it Hero? Is it Caden? I mean, there's a couple guys that are back there trying to find a spot, because I think that if I'm Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles and Ryan Day, we got to figure out who are the next guys in. Who's the third defensive end? Is it Kenyatta Jackson? Is it Caden Curry? I don't know. I mean, because those guys both weren't good enough last year to play substantial roles. Now, are they going to be physical enough to play in the run? Are they going to be liabilities? I mean, Kenyatta, we put him in sometimes last year. We put him in against Michigan for one play, and we got torched because he jumped out of his gap. And again, that's the story. When people are like, well, how can these guys be so physically gifted and so good, physically good looking, on the hoof or whatever you want to call it, when you see these guys in person and they don't play? And I'm like, well, because they don't do what they're supposed to do. And again, if there's one thing you can sign in blood in a contract, it's that if you do not do what you're supposed to do in Jim Knowles' defense, you are not going to play. And you could ask Josh Proctor 2 years ago, Malik Hartford last year, CJ Hicks, Kenyatta, Caden Curry, some of these guys, if they don't do what he wants, if you don't play inside of the scheme of his 3 safety defense, then you're toast. And again, I'm good with that, because you have to be disciplined in this defense, because when it works and you're disciplined, we shut everybody down. If you want to do if you want to do what you want to do, then you're just going to stand next to the guys on the field. You're going to stand next to the signalers and Larry Johnson and the guys that are down the field and watch the game. So again, that's what CJ Hicks has to get better about. Again, I've been on CJ for the last few podcasts, if you guys have been paying attention, because he got all the ability. He runs fast. He looks great. He's got all the ability in the world to be a beast, but can he really lock in and up his awareness, read his keys, and actually be effective as a linebacker in college football? That's the $1 million question. Because again, the battle between him, Sonny, and the dark horse Gabe Powers for the will linebacker is just as intriguing as the right tackle battle for me. Those are the 2 big battles in the spring. Tight end, I just don't care as much about between Kaczmarek and G. Scott. Everybody loves Jelani Thurman just because he looks the part, but Jelani's got to turn up too. There's certain guys that it's go time. I mean, it's not time to wear your NIL diamond necklaces anymore. It's time to actually go get your hands dirty and go move somebody and put your face on guys in the running game. So it'll be exciting to see who wants to go play football and who wants to watch. Because again, a lot of these guys have the ability to do it, but if you're not consistent when you've got really good players around you and behind you, you're not going to play. That's the beauty of Ohio State is, nobody's guaranteed to play, especially as deep as this team is. So you got to really bring it every day. Nevada, talk a little bit about Sonny and CJ, because I think that's the heavyweight matchup for me in spring. Sonny's coming down. Another guy who could join the fray, I don't know if he'll be ready to go yet at will, is Jaden Bonsu, because I think Jaden Bonsu's outgrown that safety position. Big physical kid, looks like Adonis, downhill dude. That linebacker room, it's pretty thin, and there's no experience. I mean, the only guy who started a game or played significantly was Cody Simon. But what do you think of the Sonny CJ matchup heading into week 1 of spring ball?
Well, I mean, you've got a guy in Sonny Styles who started games, and like you said, CJ up until now has been lost. So if you're asking me, gun to my head, who am I betting on? I'm pushing them all in on Sonny Styles right now. I mean, Sonny is he's got everything that you want in a linebacker. He just hasn't had a chance to kind of show out. He hasn't had a chance to play the position yet. But I mean, he could be just huge impact this year for Ohio State, and I think that's what makes him so intriguing. And when you talk to people at Ohio State, that's what they get excited about. And I always take my cues from the players and the staff in terms of who they're talking about, because the players know who the players are. And when the players are talking about Sonny Styles, and that's one of the first names that comes out of everybody's lips when they're talking about, man, who's made the biggest move in winter conditioning? Who's the guy in the weight room that's really impressing you? Who's the guy around the Woody Hayes that's really standing out? And Sonny Styles is always mentioned. And is that a perfect indicator? No, not by a long shot, but it's a something, and it's a better than average indicator for sure. And I think Sonny is poised for a big year. I think he's going to have a big year. I think him being in the linebacker room, which is now being widely reported after we reported a while ago, but um, you know, it was inevitable that he moved there. It had to happen. He's right in the right spot now after, this is his third year in the program, and they still haven't found the right spot for him yet. Well, I think they found the right spot for him. And I think he's poised to have a huge year. And that doesn't mean that I'm down on CJ. I just, I've watched literally, I've watched every snap that CJ's played at Ohio State, and he's just really indecisive with his reads. And he's just, it hasn't, the mental part of the game has not caught up to his considerable, physical gifts. And I'll be watching hard in the spring to see it. And like you said, you don't want to sleep on a guy like Gabe Powers. You've got Peyton Pierce with a foot injury that's been kind of shaking him. But look, it's primarily gonna come down to CJ and Sonny. But again, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Gabe again, because how much I love Gabe Powers. And Gabe's a guy that he's sneaky good. He goes out there and he makes plays, makes tackles. I love watching him on the practice field. He goes out there and just blows guys up, and he's a good player. But they're just not. He's not a super freak like Sonny Styles, and so I'm pushing my money on Sonny. I'm hoping he's the guy. I think he's going to be the guy. But I really think at the end of the day, everybody's going to play in a 15, 16 game schedule with this type of competition. We're going to need all hands on deck. We're going to need Gabe. We're going to need Sonny. We're going to need CJ. We're going to need Cody Simon. We're going to need them all, because this is one heck of a schedule.
Well, yeah, and I think sometimes people get intoxicated by speed, strength, physicality, and most importantly, recruiting ranking. People see a guy's a 5-star and he's going to waltz in here and just dominate. Again, like going into the 2006 season, which was my junior year, we got Larry Grant. Larry Grant was the number 1 JUCO kid. I don't know if he was a 5-star, but he might have been a high 4-star. But he was the number 1 linebacker in the country for JUCOs. He's a guy that was an All-American at San Francisco Community College. And again, when he showed up, everyone's like, he's going to start at linebacker. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the next AJ Hawk or the next whoever, Niall Diggs, like whatever you want to call him. And he barely played in 06. James Laurinaitis was the guy that ended up being an All-American. If you put, Larry versus James, Larry a little bit bigger, he's quicker, looked the part. I remember when he was on his recruiting visit, I'm like, dude, you got to come here because we need linebackers. Like, we're losing AJ, Bobby, and Schlegel. Like, we need a linebacker really bad. And he was walking around with Jim Haycock and Fickle, and I was like, dude, come here because he'll start. And then he didn't start. James started, Marcus Freeman. Larry played sparingly, played a lot in 07. But again, he had the recruiting hype, and he was a great athlete, could really run. Played in the NFL for like 7 or 8 years, really had a nice NFL career. But, he wasn't that dude when he started. And again, I've seen it with Curtis Grant. Curtis Grant is a great kid, turned out to be, a really solid, good player. But he was, he almost quit the team his freshman year in training camp. And he was the number 2 player in the entire United States of America behind Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney is the best defensive player I've ever seen in the history of high school football on tape. I mean, I was like, that guy is a number 1 overall pick the second he declares. And if he could have declared as a freshman, he probably been a number 1 pick overall then. But Curtis was number 2, and the instincts just weren't there. And he was tentative, and he couldn't play. On film, he looked like Ray Lewis, and then when he got here, for whatever reason, he wasn't processing as quickly or whatever, or if he just played Virginia bad football in high school. Like, and again, Curtis is a great kid, had a nice career, won a national championship, but he didn't get drafted. And he's the guy that was the second overall player in the country, 5-star, all everything, whatever. And is CJ that, or is he going to turn up and be, the kind of dominating all Big Ten guy that we've projected him to be? Again, I've seen good linebackers. Good linebackers generally flash as freshmen on special teams, and by the time they're sophomores, I'm talking good ones. I'm talking AJ Hawk, talking Laurinaitis. They're all American, all Big Ten level players. So CJ's already past that. And again, I know he had Tommy and Steele in front of him, but Steele's a great kid. Tommy's a great kid, but that's not AJ and James now. They're good players, but they're not on that level. So those guys, waiting a minute, took a second. We got a bunch of super chats we're going to get going on these. Jermaine Goins actually turned on some JJ for you. Because this is interesting, because we usually just watch highlights. Obviously, you're not going to see a JJ Smith highlight of him blocking. Jermaine Goins, thank you for the 10. I haven't seen any film on Jeremiah Smith blocking. Do you have any? I don't think I do. If this is his only weakness, could he potentially lose playing time? On our roster, which wide receiver is the best blocker? Ooh, that is like being the tallest midget at this point. I think potentially it's Brandon Innes, but again, he didn't play much last year at a college level. I don't know. I mean, that's tough. I mean, obviously last year a lot of people lauded Julian Fleming. Obviously, he's gone to Penn State. I would say Innes just because of his physicality, and Brandon was a defensive guy too. I mean, he was a safety, played both ways in high school, so he's got a different type of physicality than a lot of these superstar receivers. They play one way in high school, so you don't really get to see them tattoo guys the way you get to see Brandon do it. Nevada, again, I haven't seen any film on JJ. I mean, the only thing that I have on JJ is that he's absolutely humongous. So if he wants to go put his hands on people, he can do it and knock guys out. I've not seen him block. I imagine, I don't think it's a weakness, but I think that, it really comes down to, is Chip Kelly going to enforce that these guys block, or is it going to be like last year where the guys just kind of chill and they just let the guys tackle our running backs? That's the major question. Is that philosophy going to change when you have a real offensive coordinator? Because Brian Hartline wasn't the offensive coordinator. He was, but he's not the play caller. Chip's going to be the play caller this year. Chip has a lot more clout because of his track record of calling plays, as opposed to Brian, who was he was anointed the OC because he's been such a great recruiter and developer of wide receivers, but not because of his overall offensive prowess. Nevada. God, it's hard to pick on our roster which receiver is the best blocker. I mean, it's probably one of the walk-ons, but they don't really play. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Last year's obviously what you said with Julian Fleming, he was the easy answer. Some years we've had an easy answer, but look, you said this on another podcast that kind of slipped through, and we didn't really highlight it, but the kind of the attitude of these guys aren't brought here to block, that's actually been said. That's actually been said about some of these wide receivers, and as jarring as that is to hear, I think that's sometimes the attitude that they're being brought in with. And for Ohio State, Chip Kelly's got to bang that out of them because we want those explosive runs, we want those extra yards in the secondary, and right now, like you said, you've got guys that have the physicality, you've got guys that did play both ways, and do special teams in high school, so they can do it. It's just a question of whether they will do it. So we'll be watching in the spring to see who gets after it, what happens, who's willing to kind of stick his nose in there. But like you said, right now it's like a 7 or 8 way tie for first and last, all for the best and worst blocker.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's just going to come down to, do they make it a thing? Is it cool again to block, or are guys still going to be scared of getting injured? Because I just think it's just football. You got to go play it, and I think it's selfish when you don't take care of your running backs and block guys. It's selfish for the whole offense because linemen got to block every play, and again, I'm fine with that because that's what our description is. But there's this this kind of stigma where oh, you're not cool if you're a tryhard if you go block guys, and I think that's gonna get killed by Chip Kelly. I'm just telling you, because I watched the film and it's just not anywhere near where it needs to be. I think the focus on David Fennell, thanks for the 5. I hope you're good, brother. Appreciate you as always being on here. I think the focus on tempo is necessary, but can you speak to how Chip utilizes tempo both with speed but also in slowing down? Disadvantages. This is a great question. I think that, you know, it's like baseball. You know, I mean, the easiest way you can talk about speed is like when a pitcher changes speeds, he throws change up, fastball, whatever, cutter, curve, slider, whatever. Like, I think that doing multiple things, it makes it much tougher on a defensive coordinator when he doesn't know if you're going to go fast, if you're going to do a look back tempo where you hurry the line, act like you're going fast, and then you look back, or if you just go like a regular tempo. Because again, if you have guys that are versatile, like G. Scott or Jelani or tight ends that can split out and play slot receiver, then you can keep moving the ball and not give them an opportunity to sub out. The only way that they can stop and match personnel is if you sub somebody. But if you have guys that can line up in line and can split out and actually be proficient at it, then I think it's a huge advantage. I think for Chip, again, if you go warp speed, it's really hard to play anything other than base defense on defense. I mean, because again, you're going so fast. If you're the coordinator and you're the signal guys, you just have to pray to God, especially without radio communication. You have to pray to God that everybody gets the signal and they know that it's a base defensive call, as opposed to running, a pressure, a blitz, whatever, some sort of a line game stunt. Like, because, again, if they're going fast, you got to make sure everybody gets it and it gets communicated by the linebacker. Because if one guy misses it, if you run a blitz and one guy doesn't get the call, then it could be all over. It could be, a travesty. So, but I think like being able to, go look back is a good way to combat what are these guys doing, in terms of, are they trying to blitz us a certain way? Can we pick the blitz? Because the key is, if you think that the blitz is coming and you can pick it off and change the play, go the other way, or run right into the blitz, I think that's a huge advantage. Because then again, it's a way to kind of, it's like kind of having an eraser. If you're taking a test and you can look at the answer key and change the answer to what the answer key is supposed to be, that's what it's like when you go look back, and then sometimes they'll check off of that. But, is it, it's just like a big chess match, and how good are you and how good is the defense at changing stuff. So I think it's a huge advantage. I think, again, the disadvantage is just making sure everything gets communicated. Obviously, it's harder to do on the road in a noisy environment on offense. So, you can't get too in bed with it. But I think that, the advantage of mixing stuff up constantly so that the defense is on their heels is a huge edge for the offense. And like when I've seen teams do it really well, it's hard to stop, and again, I think that, because again, there's no law that says this game we're going to go warp speed, this game we're going to go warp speed, and look back, this time we're going to go normal tempo most game, because teams never know what to get ready for. And in general, if they never know what to get ready for, they're going to get ready for the hurry up stuff more than anything, because that's the hardest thing to get ready for, is the true no huddle warp speed, because it wears out the defense. It gasses them. And when defensive players are used to substituting every 3 or 4 plays, especially the big fat guys, the D linemen, it can absolutely kill them, because if they can't get off the field because we're going so fast, that's a problem. And again, that's the big reason why Chip did it, is because Chip couldn't get the big monsters from the SEC to come to Oregon. So he's like, well, I'm just going to, make them run sprints up and down the field to the point where they're so tired that they can't pass rush. They can't do anything. And like Tom Herman was a big believer in what Chip Kelly did. And I wasn't until I worked for Tom and I saw it in 12. And I was like, we played Penn State and we went up and down the field on him at the end of the game, going fast. And they had a really good D tackle, number 47. And he couldn't even get out of the stance. He was so tired. And I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, because it's literally like, it's like a cheat code. So that's my opinion on it. Nevada, your thoughts on Chip utilizing tempo with speed and slowing down, and what are your perceived disadvantages?
Well, look, as an old defensive coordinator myself, you look for patterns in the offense, and we've talked about predictability and play calling, and we've broken that down a million times about how when you go down in distance or by formation or what you're doing, how when you get predictable, defenses can kill you. Well, predictability and tempo is the same way. And when you're calling defenses and the game's kind of running a certain way, and you kind of get into your rhythm of your substitution patterns, by down, by distance, by field position, by score, then it just makes your life as a defensive coordinator just so much easier. And when teams are going fast, or when they're changing it up and going slow, and then they're going really fast, and then they're going just kind of fast and really super fast, man, it's terrible as from a defensive coordinator. And you're absolutely right. You can only call base defense at that point because you cannot get away. And on offense, if some guy screws up, you might lose 2 yards or 3 yards or whatever it is. But on defense, if one guy doesn't know what everybody else is doing, it can be 6 points. And so you go to vanilla defense, you go to your base defense, and clearly there's a disadvantage in terms of you go fast, you risk going 3 and out and putting your defense back on the field right away. Maybe your play calls aren't quite as robust as they would be if you were taking a little bit more time, if you're getting a look at what they're doing, if you're having a chance to kind of talk things over on the headsets, or you have a chance to kind of conjure things up a little bit more. But given the new clock rules, given the way that the games are shorter, less plays, I think tempo makes an awful lot of sense for a team like Ohio State that's got overwhelming offensive talent. We want to have as many snaps of the ball as possible. We're not Iowa. We're not trying to win 14-7. We're Ohio State. It's a race to 50 for us. And I just think tempo is a great way to do it. And I think Chip Kelly's the master of tempo. And I can't wait to see him implement it fully in the spring and into the fall, because I think it's going to be devastatingly effective given the tools that he has.
I totally agree. Shof Steel Workshop, thank you for the 5. I think this is my knife man. What is up, brother? Buckeye Blacksmith here. Keep up with the good work. What changes do you want to see at the line on both sides of the ball? Thanks from Arkansas, Ohio. We have a blacksmith. How cool is that? We have a guy that actually makes knives. He wants to make us a knife, which would be amazing. I'd love to show that off. If you are still offering that, I think that'd be hilarious if you put one of your sweet knives out and you put a Buckeye Scoop logo on it. I'll probably show that off. And I might take that to every gathering. Just keep it like in a sheath on my chest, like Rambo. That'd be awesome. So appreciate you, my man. If you guys need a knife, this guy has got a legit Facebook page, Shof Steel Workshop. So check it out. Again, it truly amazes me. We have tattoo artists. We have a blacksmith. Basically anything you need, you can find on Buckeye Scoop's podcast or BuckeyeScoop.com. So appreciate you, my man. What changes do you want to see on the line on both sides of the ball? Well, defensively, a lot of the changes that I wanted were enacted as they let Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau get loose a little bit towards the end of the season. You saw their sack production skyrocket because there was less cage rushing. Cage rushing is basically you bull rush the tackle, you keep the quarterback in the cage. It's great for stopping an athletic quarterback, but it isn't the funnest thing in the world to do if you're a pass rusher, because you can't really do much from a pass rushing standpoint. But they kind of loosened that up a little bit. That's why Jack went nuts down the stretch, and JT had the big Penn State game. Down the stretch, they kind of took the chains off those guys a little bit. And I think that you're going to see a lot more of that this year, because I think that an area that they want to improve in is the havoc plays, the sacks, the turnovers. Because the defense was second in the country, so there's not a lot to improve on. But if you force more turnovers and make it harder to defend, that is something that I think everybody would enjoy watching. On the offensive side of the ball, there's a lot. And again, it's probably because I'm an offensive lineman. I watched a lot of film. I think the combination blocks, aka the double team blocks, have got to be much more physical. I think guys are too obsessed with leaving the double teams early to get to the linebacker, because again, I've been a young lineman in the past, and I thought that was the way to do it. I think these guys need to hang on the double teams a little bit longer and really make sure they pulverize those guys. I think that they need to finish better. I don't think that there's enough aggression and nastiness up front. And again, I love these kids. I think that these guys have severe talent. They're very talented. These guys move really well. They're good kids. They're smart kids. They're tough kids. But they need to finish their plays more. They need to finish blocks. They need to get more cumulative trauma throughout the game, which is where you just keep pounding on guys and leaning on guys and putting guys on the ground, because that's what breaks teams in the fourth quarter. And again, I'll give credit where credit's due. That's what Michigan's Lions done the last few years. Like to most of the teams they've played, outside of Georgia and TCU, they would wear on teams, and towards the end of the game is when you'd start seeing these long runs get broken. because they'd wear guys out because they're physical. I think that we're in 2-point stances too much, especially the tackles, especially on early downs when we have to run the ball. There's no reason to be in a 2-point on first down, unless it's a known throwing situation. Unless you're in like 2-minute offense, like put your hand on the ground. I got to watch Michigan. Like Michigan's guys are down on the ground, and it's because you start in your stance lower and you're more physical. Again, if I told all of you guys to go hit a sled, most of you guys that have played football or watched football or whatever, and to move the sled, the further you move it, whoever moves it the furthest gets $1 million. Nobody's going to do that out of a 2-point stance. Everybody's going to get down to the 3-point, butt up in the air, try and knock the guy back. It's no different than if I say, hey, you got to go run a 100-meter dash. Nobody's not going to start in the blocks, if it's for like a serious thing, like a gold medal, or go watch the Olympics and go tell me if any of those sprinters are in the blocks, or are they standing up like upright, like at a 2-point. Like you can't generate force the same way. So those are the things that I would like to see. A lot of those are simple fixes. But again, our combination, AKA double team blocks, have got to be much, much better. And I just think the overall physicality of that unit has to step up. Nevada, what would you like to see on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball in terms of improvement?
Well, more rotation. I want to see them rotate more guys on the defensive line. Frankly, probably on the offensive line. I know, you're probably not a big fan of it. You probably know more about the offensive line, or forgotten more about the offensive line than I'll ever know. But I would like to see more of those guys, and I think it would serve a lot of purposes in terms of doing that. I think we're good enough to be able to do that. But on the defensive line, it's been criminal what we've done regarding the short rotations, playing guys the entire game. I think it's cost us. I think that idea has got to be shelved this year, and we've got to keep some of the younger guys fresh. There's about a million reasons to do that, especially with the transfer portal and everything else with young guys. Man, you want to play them, and that's one way to keep guys happy is give them playing time, let them have a chance to be productive. I don't think we've done nearly a good enough job on that. Offensive line, you've talked about hand placement. I think our hand placement's been poor. The stance thing is a big thing for me. Um, I think our physicality is fine, but it's. I think we'll look better and we'll look more physical, and a lot of things will look better when the scheme improves. And I think the scheme's going to improve dramatically, and I think the offensive line is going to look better. I've said it's going to be like magic. I think the offensive line is going to be an absolute strength of the team this year, and I know people have question marks about that. I think I've seen what Chip Kelly has done with offensive lines that not a single one of those guys would even made the two deep at Ohio State, and they managed to run it up and down the field against some really good teams. And I never watched those games thinking, wow, where are those offensive, that offensive line is not physical. Wow, that offensive line, that combination blocking isn't good, or the hand placement isn't good, or why are they down in 3-point stances? Those thoughts never enter my mind. And these guys are a bunch of 3-stars, running around up there at Oregon and UCLA, and they managed to move the ball on the ground. So I think we'll have a similar impact, only with better players, and I think it'll be profound, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and the rotation thing, I agree with on the offensive line. I think you have to get some of these young guys in earlier, especially in blowouts. It drives me crazy. I think that if the right tackle spot isn't settled, you got to rotate those guys in the games too. Again, if it's Luke Montgomery, George Fitzpatrick, Tigra, Tish Kabola, like whoever's left, like you got to figure out if those guys can play in the real games and not just the scrimmages. That's going to be really critical. But I think getting the young guys in and mixing them into the fray is important, because guys have to figure out if they can play the horseshoe or not. Because there's some guys, they get out there and they crack and they can't do it. We saw guys in the last few years, like they get out there and it's too much. There's too much pressure. There's too many mean people, on social media. They can't handle it. Again, it's not for everybody and it's tough to do. So, some of these guys, they can't handle having a bad day, a bad play, a bad game, a loss, whatever. And that's part of playing football at Ohio State. And again, that goes for all positions. Like guys got to figure out if they can do it or not. And I think that on the O-line, it's just you have to keep building depth, which again is something that's is really important. Raymond Mitchell, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for being on here every night. I'm worried that in May, the NCAA will pass rules targeting Ohio State and how they did NIL this offseason. The SEC will go back to the bag man and we'll have to put up with the SEC dominance again. I'm not worried about that at all. Nevada, do you have any worries about the SEC dominating again?
I think the NIL genie's kind of out of the bottle, so I just don't know what they're going to do. And I think on that particular issue, I think the NCAA is going to really be, I don't say they'll be silent, but they're not going to certainly be active. They're going to focus their enforcement efforts and the stuff that they're doing about transgressions on other areas. But I don't know how you solve NIL, and I don't know how I don't know how you put the toothpaste back in the tube. I don't know how you get past the restraint of trade issues. And I mean, everything about NIL that's happened is exactly what I said was going to happen when NIL happened. And I had to listen to fat, sweaty guys tell me how I was wrong and it wasn't going to change anything. And it's changed everything. Now, Ohio State's managed to turn it into a positive, and that's good. And that's great. And, I think Kirk was one of the first people to really talk about, getting guys to return and how important NIL, plays. And that's a huge benefit. Huge, huge, huge. But we all have to, at least if we're intellectually honest, we have to admit that the game is profoundly different and recruiting is profoundly different. And I found like my own interest in recruiting has gone down because of NIL and things like, it used to be comfort in relationships and let's talk about little Timmy, the sophomore wide receiver who could be interested in Ohio State. And now it's like, I mean, you just have to wake me like a day before signing day or something like that, because I don't know what's going to happen with the phone calls and with NIL or with other things. But Ohio State's been really careful to do things the right way. That's always been kind of the hallmarks of Ohio State compliance is, following the rules almost to a fault. And I'm comfortable that they've done everything the right way. And I think even if they didn't, I'm not really sure what the NCAA could do about it at this point when it comes to NIL, because that's a tough one.
Yeah, I think once these guys have started, with the apartments and the cars and the amount of NIL funds they're getting, like you can't put that back in the tube. You can't go back and say, because I've heard people talk about, well, you got to cap how much they can make. That's never going to happen. Like there's never going to be like because then you're right back to where you were before, where it's like, oh well, this kid can only make X amount because the bag man will just make up the difference. So like I said, the greatest thing that's ever happened to Ohio State, other than hiring Urban Meyer, is literally NIL. Because now it's all out in the open, and now we can be competitive in it, and we can dominate at it. Where before, the hardest part about college football and college basketball is when you actually try to play by the rules and the goody two shoes. A lot of times you lose to teams that don't play by the rules. And again, that was one of my biggest beefs when I was a player. And again, I'm not saying it cost us national titles, but like we lost really good players. Like Eugene Clifford was a fantastic player, 5-star safety, and we lost him because we drug tested him to death and he failed drug tests. And guess what? If he played at LSU or at Florida or Miami or Bama or any other school, like Tyrann Mathieu failed like 40 drug tests at LSU before they finally kicked him off the team. Eugene failed 3 and he was gone in 1 year. So, we used to penalize ourselves. Like we lost Marcel Frost right before the 06 season because he failed another test and he had a 1-year suspension and he had to go to Jackson State. So basically you never heard from him again. And he was a good player. I don't know if he's an NFL guy, but as a tight end at Ohio State, he was better than Ryan Hamby. He's better than Rory Nickel. He's better than a lot of these guys. And he was one of the best athletes I've ever seen. And he was a guy that if he ever actually tried, he would have been an NFL guy, but he just had so much ability. And frankly, he was good in 05. Like I played next to him and he was starting to come on. But, again, at other schools, they don't play with, their hands handcuffed behind their back like you do at Ohio State because, we have to be all high and mighty. And again, that was the thing I always prayed for. Is like, let's just have a uniform, like get a commissioner of college football that controls the SEC and the Big Ten, because that's what it's going to be. And I want uniform drug testing policies and I want uniform NIL policies. That's all I want. I don't want Ohio State to drug test us to death and we lose really good players for no reason and, compliance us to death. And that's where I think that it'll be fun. If it gets to that, like with the NFL, for instance, they can send people from the NFLPA, people that do the rules, to a facility on a random practice day and monitor what's going on and audit your film. Because like I was with the Detroit Lions, and some of the stuff we were doing in practice in the summer was completely illegal. We were beating the tar out of each other. Supposed to be non-contact, supposed to be a teaching tempo. Beat the tar out of each other. And the NFLPA showed up one day. They looked at the film and they said, "Yeah, this is all illegal." And we lost like 3 practices in the middle of summer. So for me, I was like, "This is great." Like they weren't allowed to have the facility open. So basically, it was like we got a week off in the middle of the summer, which was awesome. But again, there's those checks and balances that, frankly, without a governing body that rules college football, we don't have that. Because we have the NCAA, which is over water polo as much as it is college football, governing, the 800-pound gorilla that's college football, where we really need a commissioner. So I don't think the SEC is going to have that situation again. Because I don't think the players are going to go backwards, especially as streaming companies are getting into the bidding and the TV money, and 14-team playoffs are coming. Like, these kids aren't going to go back to, well, here's your $700 a week for your ramen noodles and and hopefully your mom and dad and your brother and sister can make it to the game. But if not, we don't care. Like, that's not going to happen again. Because again, these kids are seeing the light and they're getting a little bit of scratch, and that's how it's going to be from going forward. And again, I'm happy for the kids. Because again, you don't need to have Ryan Day making $14 million and then have all of our best players making a scholarship check. Like, that's ridiculous. Because
and Kirk, you make a really good point. I mean, the fact that CJ Stroud could get a second mink coat, it makes me feel good. You know what I'm saying? As a fan,
yes. It does get cold in Columbus, just so you know that.
It does.
Really cold.
It does. He's out there and he's got the one mink coat, but like you're not a baller unless you've got that second mink coat. You know what I'm saying? And he's got that. And I was just like, man, I love that. It's like I'm donating my money, and I'm like, CJ, I really want to help you get that second mink coat. How much you need to put you over the top? That's where I want my money spent. And so it's ramen noodles, second mink coat. Those are the 2 things most important for the young athlete of today. And I'm glad to be part of both of those things.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, if it's like a rain, if it's kind of one of those rainy, sleet, cold nights, like, you got to have 2 mink coats on, because if you have to cross over a puddle and you've got crocodile shoes on that are, cost more than, they're like you're like Ric Flair's protege. You have to lay down the 1 mink coat over the puddle so you don't get the alligators dirty. And then you can leave the other mink coat on, because the first one will be ruined because you don't want to ruin the alligator shoes. So again, that's why you got to have the second mink coat. That's why NIL is so important, Nevada. God, you love interjecting, but it is really funny. Donald and Karen Rossbeck, thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. And also thank you for the 5. Did you see the Michigan pitcher get ejected for putting stuff on the ball? They just cannot cheating. You cannot stop cheating. Nevada, OH. I did not see that. I got sent that. Did not see it. Nevada, did you see the video?
I thought that was old. I honestly think that was old. I'm pretty sure that was like from like last year or something like that. I mean, maybe it's new. If that's new, that's incredible. But I'm pretty sure it's old. But somebody checked the incident, and it was like pine tar or stickum or whatever it was. But I'm pretty sure that was from last year.
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Again, I think Michigan cheats, but that's one of those ones I don't know if I can, because if an Ohio State guy is out, because Ohio State's playing baseball in Vegas this weekend, and my friend was like, my friend whose son plays for the team is like, "You want to go?" And I was like, "No, I would hate to go to Vegas because it's just so boring, and there's no way to ever have fun." And I made sure I told my wife this, because my wife's on the show. I was like, "Kim, I do not want to go to Vegas because it is so boring, and I hate Vegas, and there's no way I'd ever find anything to do. So I'd much rather stay home and podcast with Nevada because it's just awesome. it's just not my scene. I don't like great dinners and nightlife and fun and excitement. I'd much rather hang out with my wife and kids, because it's just that's the way to do it." Kim's she's going to be going ballistic on me in the chat. And again, I like to poke the bear sometimes. Josh Robideau, thanks for the 5. I've been a Buckeye Scoop member since day 1. What else does Scoop Ultra do? Well, Scoop Ultra is going to get rounded out in a big way. Like, we had Orlando Pace podcasts recently, and Scoop Ultra members all got to ask questions to Orlando. It's kind of like it supersedes the super chat when we do those. we're gonna do a gear drop. I'm just telling you, we're gonna do a gear drop. We're working on that right now. And we've been talking about rounding out Scoop Ultra. Again, Scoop Ultra has been an awesome program. It goes to support Pay It Forward. Again, and we're going to start doing specific shows where we will just randomly turn on Scoop Ultra and say, look, if you guys have questions, it basically is like a super chat. And you guys can just ask us questions. Generally we try to do like one at a time so everybody can get a turn. And it turns on basically like a free super chat. So again, it's just more interaction with us. And again, we're still rounding this out because we want to do like a specific show for you guys. So we're going to get to that pretty quick here. Nevada, Scoop Ultra has been awesome. More thoughts on some of the stuff. So we talked about this literally today. It's like one of our top agenda items on our list of 1,000 things we got to get done. But Scoop Ultra has been great.
No, Scoop Ultra's been awesome. Great way to support Pay It Forward. Great way to support the YouTube channel. Just kind of a different thing. The film breakdowns is what we really want. We want to do film breakdowns. The challenge on doing film breakdowns on this stuff is getting banged for copyright because we have tried every which way with YouTube where we use short clips, little clips, longer clips, all 22 television broadcasts, handheld cam. I mean, like you try everything, but you can't get demonetized by YouTube because that happens, then nothing good comes from that. So we're trying to do some things. We're trying to find some ways to do it to kind of make the Scoop Ultra a little different. But we appreciate all the support. We appreciate all the people coming there and supporting the Pay It Forward fund. And for us, we're going to continue to work on Scoop Ultra to make it kind of a fun thing for the YouTube members. Like I said, for the Buckeye Scoop members, you guys get us the other 22 and a half hours a day. But for the 90 minutes a night when we're on the YouTube, it's kind of a different product. And like I said, we hope everybody that's a YouTube member comes over to BuckeyeScoop.com and becomes a BuckeyeScoop.com member, and that would just cross-pollinate the two communities even better. So we appreciate everybody.
Totally agree. Our honor defend. Thank you for the buck. If you have a question, toss that in there. The Korach, thanks for the deuce. How is the skill set of a Sam different from a Will linebacker? That is a fantastic question. Again, Nevada, the question is, how is the skill set of a Sam different from the Will linebacker? It's changed dramatically over the years. If you go back to the olden times, like back before, 4K television when I played, a classic Sam linebacker was Bobby Carpenter, who's 6'3" ish, taller guy, stronger guy. Generally would play over a tight end when they had an inline tight end in the formation. And the Will linebacker is like your classic AJ Hawk, a guy who generally the defense is designed so that everything is funneled to him, and he's kind of like your playmaker. He's kind of the finisher of the play. Schlegs was obviously the Mike. Now, a Will is very similar to what AJ was, but the Sam, to me, is much different because that guy is generally an overhang player and by overhang, I mean he's literally standing over the slot wide receiver, because that's what, Sonny Styles did that a little bit last year. So basically, like the hardest part for a Sam right now is for Jim Knowles, do you take Jordan Hancock off the field, who's one of our best players, and do you put a Sam out there who's got to be a guy like Sonny Styles, or a guy that, or if they want to try CJ Hicks out there, a guy that can cover a slot guy in space. And again, you're trading off Jordan Hancock, who's a big guy, who's physical, who can tackle. He can do everything. But do you want a guy who's a little bit bigger when you play teams like Michigan or Wisconsin, some of the teams that want to run the ball? And really, it's kind of like, who's that slot guy? Who's the slot receiver you're defending? Is it a quick guy? Is it a Jackson Smith and Jigba who's going to give a guy like Sonny Styles problems? Or is it a guy who's a bigger guy, maybe a Julian Fleming or a tight end type body type? So the Sam is much different. The Sam now is kind of like a supersized Nickelback, not the rock band that I'm sure Nevada's a big fan of. But I'm just saying it's a much different position than it used to be because you just don't see as much inline tight end play compared to how much you see three receivers and detached tight ends now. Nevada, anything on the different skill set between a Sam and a Will linebacker, or did I cover everything?
No, I think you covered everything. I think it's, it is interesting how much the game has changed though in just a short period of time. And yeah, how talking about when you played is like the ancient times of your, but not just with the spread offenses. And right now it's rare for teams not to go out there with three wide receivers out in the field. And when they do that, you've got to respond appropriately from a defensive standpoint. And that just the days of playing three linebackers. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that just a few years ago we were playing four linebackers in certain games, but we did. Sometimes it worked out, and sometimes it didn't work out. But it's modern football right now. People talk about the 4-2-5 like it's some sort of gimmicky defense or some weird invention by Jim Knowles. But man, that's just the standard base defense for 99% of the college football teams right now, and it's been a huge change in recent years.
Yeah, and the 4-2-5 is just nickel defense. That's all it is. I mean, we just have fancy names like Bandit for the boundary safety, Adjuster is the field safety. Boundary means like the short side of the field. So it's like whatever the shorter. If you're on the left hash, imagine close your eyes and you're lined up in a huddle on the left hash. The boundary is the short side of the field, and the field is the wide side of the field. Dustin Fox with Trussell was the boundary corner. He was the guy that played on the short side of the field, and then you put Chris Gamble on the wide side of the field, where they were throwing more shots and less quick outs and that type of thing. So, yeah, but it's a way different game now. And again, I think that, what was made of the 4-2-5, I mean, every team in the entire universe runs nickel defense now because you have to. Nickel's probably 85% of the game now, compared to when I played, it was probably 50% of the game. And so that's a massive shift just over the last few years. D. Sonny, thank you for the 5. Will Chip be in the box? I don't think that's been determined yet. I think he has to be in the box, but I don't know if he wants to be in the box, if that makes any sense. But I think Chip has to be in the box because here's the deal. Let's just do let's pretend we're playing the board game Clue, right? Probably my favorite game ever. You have to eliminate who can be in the box. Brian Hartline cannot be in the box. He's a wide receiver coach. He has to be down there coaching the 4 wide receivers that are in the game, 3-4 wide receivers, whatever. Justin Fry, the offensive line coach, cannot be in the box. He has to be down coaching the offensive lineman. That is standard practice across all of football. Keenan Bailey will be in the box. He has to be in the box. Tony Alford has to be down on the field because he controls the running back rotation. And frankly, he doesn't have the passing game experience that Chip Kelly is going to need to see. So that literally leaves Chip Kelly and Keenan as the only 2 guys that you could possibly have in the box, along with probably Mike Solani because he's back again. He did not get a job, so I think he's the GA again this year. So, you have to put Chip Kelly up there. Corey Dennis was up there last year. You cannot put Brian Hartline up there because, again, the wide receiver coach has to be on the field coaching wide receivers because there's too many guys to coach, and the offensive line coach. So your 2 other coordinators, your run game coordinator and then your co-offensive coordinator, I don't even know what Brian's title is anymore. Those guys have to be down on the field, so basically you put Chip or Tony Alford up. And I just thought that, Tony, I'm sure knows enough about the passing game to be dangerous, but he has to control that running back rotation because the running backs rotate every 2 or 3 plays and he's got to be down on the field running that. You don't want to have a GA doing that when Tony's the guy that's been doing it for years. So I think Chip has to go in the box. Now, again, I don't know when's the last time he's been in the box. And since he's been head coach, obviously he's down on the field. When he was a coordinator, he was down on the field. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I could look under Bellotti and see if he was up in the box, but I just don't know. I mean, I can't imagine how you don't put Chip up there just based on the process of elimination. Nevada, your thoughts on Chip Kelly in the box? Like, I think that they have to.
I've been told it's a done deal. I've been told that's where he's going to be. So we'll see if my info is right. But I've been told, I mean, that was like a day one to install type of decision. But I mean, with Chip, does Chip have enough clout that he could go to Ryan? Hey, I'm just more comfortable sitting on the sidelines. I mean, I guess anything's possible. But everything I've been told is he's going to be in the box, and that's the right spot for him.
I think when you have Keenan Bailey as your tight end coach, it hamstrings you because if you have Kevin Wilson still, which obviously that'd be a really veteran staff, like Kevin's coached the offensive line before. He's a great offensive line coach. He's probably a better offensive line coach than Justin Fry, just because he's veteran. He's put Trent Williams in the NFL Hall of Famer, that type of thing. But Keene has never coached the O-line. So, when you have Kevin Wilson down on the sideline, you could put Justin Fry up, and Kevin Wilson could make the adjustments in coordination with Justin Fry in the box. And again, I lived this. This happened with Jim Bowman. It happened with Ed Warner. Where they put guys up and down and moved guys all over the place. You have to have a guy that can handle the sideline. Jim Bowman went up. He was always down on the field as a coordinator, calling plays, and then we sucked on offense in 2004, and they switched and they brought John Peterson down, who's a really good line coach at Miami of Ohio. They brought him down on the field and they put Bowles up in the box, and our offense took off in 2004. Because again, I'm a big believer that the coordinator calling the plays should be up in the box because you see everything better, and it's a more comfortable environment. It's not relaxing, but it's just an easier place to call plays. Again, I've been down on the field. I hated it being down on the field. I like being up in the box because I felt like my skill set was really reading what was going on the field and relaying that to the coaches. And when you're down on the field, you just can't see anything. You can see what's right in front of you, but you don't get the benefit of the TV replay of being in the box where they have a big TV that has ESPN on or Fox or whoever's carrying the game. They've got the TV copy of the game going. That is a huge advantage to the guys in the box in terms of just quantifying what you saw. And I lived it. And again, that's something that you never get to see the TV copy when you're down on the field. And I think that's a huge deal. And again, if they ever would bring, technology like the NFL has and like high schools have these tablets, it would change everything. Because I'd feel a lot more comfortable if Chip Kelly wanted to be down on the field if he had a tablet where he could see the plays like the NFL does right now, or they could see still photos. Because that changes everything, but you don't have that right now. Getting stoked outdoors. Thank you for the 5. Michigan fans say their players didn't know cheating was going on. As a coach, I say BS. The players had to know something was up. Thoughts? Nevada, I know what your thought is on this. What is your thought? Did the players know, or are they just really dumb?
No, they all knew. They look. We've talked about the participate. I mean, the players actively participated in calling out the defensive formation or the offensive formations to the team. Doing the little dance where 60 of them pointed to the sky when it was a passing play, and down to the ground when it was a running. Did the little running man when it was a running play. So no, look, they all knew. They're all not stupid too. They see that little Geppetto sitting right next to the coordinator screaming stuff out, holding a big folder of stuff. They knew what was going on. So I mean, look, Michigan players are stupid. We know that they're dumb. Michigan fans are dumb, but nobody's that dumb. Nobody's that naive to not know what's going on. So no, they all knew what was going on. Not that ignorance is the defense anyway, but they all knew what was going on, and they're going to get theirs.
No, I agree. Like again, if you're the dumbest human being on earth, and some of these guys, and I know guys that went to Michigan that are from Massillon that are dumb, like impossibly stupid, like some of the dumbest human beings on this earth. Here's the deal. Like if some random intern is all up in, like I want to say all up in the studio, all up in the video, like Suge Knight said about Puff Daddy, if they're all up in the coordinator's space and the coordinator's looking at him and then he's waiting to call the play, because again, the players that are sitting there with their helmets in their hands watching the game, eventually they can figure out, I mean, God, they can even hear him. Run right, coach. And then all of a sudden they call the perfect call to run right or pass or whatever. And again, like there's the one video I was looking for that was on CBS where they're like literally, he says, pass. And all the players are pointing to the sky, like pass, it's a pass. Like, and they're doing this pre-snap. So this isn't like it's a post-snap or, cause sometimes they say, hey, yell out run or pass post-snap when you can tell who it is so the defense can hear it. But they're doing this pre-snap. So they knew exactly what was going on. So again, I know people are dumb, but like when all these players are pointing to the sky with the camera on them, when he says, hey, it's pass, like you can't deny what the video is showing. I'm going to keep digging for that. Lord Vader Kush, one of the greatest names I've ever heard. I love that name. Thanks for the 5. What up, fellas? Watch some Quinshawn tape today. when he puts that foot in the ground, he's all business. Who does he remind you guys of? Nevada, OH.
I-O.
Do you have a guy that Quinshawn reminds you of?
Man, boy, I mean, lots of guys. Maybe Deuce McAllister. Maybe uh, I have Aaron Eklund. I mean, he's one of those guys that he can turn on a dime. But like you said, when he does, head up field, he's a little shorter, but man, he packs a wallop. He's slippery, but he's not a little guy. He's a power guy. He can kind of move through everything. He's just a classic NFL type of running back. He's everything you want. He can catch the ball, blocks well, runs hard. So no, I just think he's kind of a do-it-all kind of running back and a perfect complement to a home run hitter like Trey Anderson. So to have first team All-American 1 and first team All-American 2 in the same backfield is going to be a treat. Let's all enjoy it while it's here.
Yeah, I think he reminds me a little bit of Reese. He's quicker than Reese. When Reese was in his prime, Reese Clarett. But I think he's just a hammer. He's a really physical guy. He's not as quick as Ezekiel. He's not as shifty as Ezekiel, but he's that kind of guy. He's like Ezekiel's a top 5 pick in the draft. So that's as gaudy as it gets in terms of running back production. But he's like kind of that guy. I mean, he was that dude, and he's a hammer. I mean, he's 225, 4% body fat. I mean, just a monster. And he's a great kid. He's done great in these workouts. He's a guy, again, under recruited, 3-star-ish type guy, so he doesn't get the herald is, but I mean, he was an all SEC guy. Real quick, just for the fun of it, I found this tape. This is the classic from CBS, where again, when people ask, did Michigan players know? Well, here, we're doing look back. You see our guys are all looking at the signaler on the sideline. They're all looking at whatever's going on. And, Connor Stallions is literally right here, picks the sign and starts pointing to the ceiling. And he's yelling, you can see his little Geppetto lips saying, pass, pass, pass. And again, you can say, oh, the players didn't know. Well, why are they all pointing to the sky when the ball's not snapped? Literally, I mean, these guys aren't even, they're still looking at the signal. They're not even out of they're not even in their stances yet. And these players who dumb, idiotic Michigan fans say did not know, they're literally calling out pass right here. And guess what? It was a pass. Because again, they picked the signal. Like, this is live, in person, in action. And, so again, you see Connor over there, he's got his little cheat sheet of all the signals. He's looking at the signaler and he yells out pass. And all of a sudden, all these guys start pointing to the ceiling. So again, this is a universal sign for pass. They're picking the signals. They're looking at the signalers and they start, he's yelling pass and he's pointing. And all these players that all these idiotic Michigan fans say don't know. Oh, they don't know. So why are they listening to what an intern is saying on the sideline? Is it because they're just guessing that he might know, or he's a good guesser, or does he actually know the signals? So again, that thing, I just dropped a nuclear bomb on their little Chieftain village right there, because that's as damning a video as there is. And thank God 10 TV, our CBS affiliate in Columbus, caught that, because there's just no way to get around that. Jeremy Moreland, what's up, brother? Appreciate you. And I'm excited to see your craftsmanship, Nevada. He is making us a koozie and some other stuff using our logo. Asked for permission for it, so I appreciate that. Thank you for the 5. Jihad Carter came in from Orangetown, hurt during a Penn State game. Is he still here and climbing, or question mark? He's here. He was injured, missed a lot of the season, kind of quietly. Wasn't a big impact guy. He was an okay guy at Syracuse. Wasn't great. But he's the guy that, I think that they have some hope for. But, when Caleb Downs shows up, that kind of erases the competition at that spot. And Lathan Ransom comes back. I would assume Lathan is limited. Malik Hartford has a shoulder. He's going to be limited in camp, in spring camp. So, they'll be cautious with those guys. Again, I'm sure that those guys all want to get out there and chomp at the bit. Because here's the thing about Ohio State. A guy like Lathan can be a 5th-year guy, whatever he is. But you still don't want to have some young gunner come in and take your spot because that could happen. If a guy shows up and he's just whiz bang amazing, like you might be watching. Like that's the thing about Ohio State is, get injured at your own risk because if some really good player shows up and balls out, changes all the calculus. That's the thing where you don't want someone sitting in your seat for too long because you might get Wally pipped, and that's real at Ohio State, especially now with as deep as this team is. Some of these guys, they better not take off too many days because they might be watching for the rest of the season. Nevada, can we get anything out of Jihad Carter, or is he just going to be a depth special teamer type player?
I was getting really good reports on Jihad Carter last year, like really good reports, and then he got hurt and kind of fell off the map. And as you said, the injury bug waits for no man at Ohio State, and sometimes you get passed up and you never get a chance to kind of get back. But with Hartford being limited, with Lathan, clearly they're going to have him on a pitch count at best this spring. I wouldn't be surprised to see him make some noise because I'm telling you, they liked him a lot. They were surprised because I thought he was just kind of a guy at Syracuse, and my guy was like, "Man, Carter's way better than we thought he was going to be. Like way better." So, don't know. Sometimes guys never come back. We were talking today about Chase Young. Chase Young gets injured, and goes from Superman to I'm not even sure where he's going to sign now and what he's going to do. And so sometimes injuries can kind of shortchange you, and you just never come back. But I don't know. I mean, John Carter he's definitely an intriguing one just because, man, so much promise last year. So I'm not ready to write him off just yet. I'm going to keep an eye out for him this spring, and I'll let you know.
I think that's the proper way to do it. Because again, you need depth, man. I mean, you got to keep guys that feel like they don't have roles. You got to keep them somehow because the season is about to be really long, and you're gonna need every body you can get. Sean Rollins, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you. I hope you're doing good, brother. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. What's up, Kirk in Nevada? I hope all is well. Shout out to the Wrench brothers. That is Treasure the Torah, aka Akeem, and Ohio 7715, aka Devin. My homies, say bless, Scoop fam. Appreciate you, brother. As always, great talking to you the other day. Hope you make it to some of the Scoop meetups. We are going to have some very, very quickly, as early as the NFL draft. Potentially, we are kind of hammering out some details. So I hope that we pack the house and have a good time. Tina Butera, thank you for the 5. The perfect person to play Colin Steins is Littlefinger. Ooh, I like that one. That is really good. Lying, conniving, stealing, and already has a fake mustache. Tina, you just hit that out of the park. Because Littlefinger is also got dark hair. Connor Steins also has dark hair. That kind of kills King Joffrey. I love Joffrey. Nevada, there's some people say you're the Littlefinger of Ohio State sports. Is that true?
No, but we do know who Littlefinger is in Ohio. We do know. We know.
Oh, we know.
If you're talking about like lying and conniving and always kind of like stabbing people in the back when they don't really see it and I told you not to trust me, Ned. That kind of stuff. Oh, we know who that guy is, but not gonna name him here. But I might someday if I get loose, I might name him. But no, Littlefinger definitely one of my favorite characters. Again, perfectly hateable. I cheered when I guess Arya Stark slit his throat there. I don't want to blow it for everybody, but yeah, Littlefinger kind of gets his in the end. But no, that good call by Tina. He's definitely a little Weasley guy like Connor. He was definitely Weasley, and Connor. Nobody's more Weasley than Connor. So perfect match.
Yeah, Nevada and we're sadly the Cersei and the Arya Stark of the beat because we figured it out and we slit the throat real quick. Philip Bialaki, MD. Can't leave out the MD. I should put MBA on my name too. That'd be great. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thanks for the 20. Appreciate you, brother. Sorry, brother, on being out for a while because of crazy work schedule. It's all good, my man. We're all burning the oil at both ends, man. I love how you guys are so funny with each other. Smart, funny. Thanks to both you and Scoop Chat family. Appreciate you, my man. I take a lot of credit for the funny because Nevada just likes to make fun of me the whole time. I try to actually be creative with it, and he just likes to denigrate me and make me a sad panda. But I'm just saying, I take a lot of abuse just for the joy. I'm the sad clown of the show because Nevada beats me incessantly. Along with my wife, Kim also beats me. So if any of you guys listening, I'm blinking right now, send help. My wife is beating me every single night. I'm teasing. But No, I love it. Again, the funniest thing about the show is it's basically like we took all of the telephone conversations that Nevada and I have every day. We just made it into a show. Now you guys get to hear some of the crazy, wacky stuff we talk about, and the football intricate stuff, and we get to interact with you guys. So again, we love this show. This is the highlight of our day every day, and it's a big show because you guys make it one. You guys show up, you guys kick it. It's fun. It's light. It's a great way to blow off some steam at the end of the day. We're getting a boatload of really good new sponsors. I think you guys are gonna be really excited about. But I appreciate that. Again, it's all organic, and I don't know. We're just two goofs, I guess. Nevada, any thoughts on again us being funny with each other? Smart funny. That's good because again, I think that's important as opposed to just being like just a total whatever.
Well, see, I don't think people really understand your big cuddly bear side. Like they see
Oh
you
my
and they see
god.
like the big tough NFL right tackle, tough guy, and Kirk is just a big cuddly bear, man. And so I just try to bring out his big cuddly bear side because I see it. When I hang out with him, I'm like, man, you're just like a big cuddly bear. I want to go give you a hug. He's like, get away from me. Don't touch me, Nevada. Get away from me. But yes, well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the show because this is kind of a day long monologue that Kirk and I play out on the phone. We talk constantly about Ohio State football and what's going on in the sports world, and I'm glad to give you guys a little glimpse. And you are
Yeah,
a big cuddly bear.
I am a big hungry bear right now. I can't wait to eat dinner. I'm a very hungry bear. Poop Beer 12, what's up, brother? One of my favorite guys on the entire show, and a guy who converted to BuckeyeScoop.com, and he brings his hilarity onto BuckeyeScoop.com. Again, I love you guys that are crossing over to the dark side and joining the message board because it is a blast and it is like nonstop. And Pooh Beard is hilarious on there. Curtis Grant, 5-star, number one inside linebacker in 2010. Did not live up to the potential, but was a key player on the 14 Natty team. See a similar trajectory to CJ. Also, our drug testing best cost us Joey and Noah Spence. Great call. Again, Noah Spence is the guy that I thought was going to be first round pick, all everything. I loved Noah. Noah was kind of a knucklehead, got caught up in the mix a little bit. Still got drafted. He went to wherever he went to, and he still was good enough at that level to get drafted. But seeing him and Joey would have been disgusting because Noah, he was our big time flip we got from Penn State. We actually took him from Larry Johnson. And he came and he was a little cocky dude. He'd always point at me and say, I want to go against you. When I was a GA and I'm old and washed, and I was like, I'm gonna short set you and break your neck in half, little boy. But I love Noah. He was a great kid. Joey was a great kid too. Like seeing those two, it's kind of like how we never really got to see Chase and Nicky Bosa. We didn't get to see Joey and Noah Spence. And they both it just sucks. I don't know if CJ has the same mentality of Curtis. Curtis is a great kid. I just think that he that again, and I mean this like sincere, like that 5-star thing, it's a gift and a curse. It's a gift because, in modern times, it's a huge gift because people that don't know any better, namely NIL organizations, will say, ooh, he's a 5-star. We better give him a bunch of money. So a lot of these kids are getting paid and, they show up and they think they're going to dominate the same way they did in high school. And the game is way faster. The coaching is way better. The offensive minds are way better. The skill guys are way better. The linemen are bigger, faster, stronger. So everything goes up like 100 times once you get to college. And Curtis struggled with it because I think, again, he was a lot like Mike D'Andrea. Mike D'Andrea, when he showed up, again, sometimes Ohio State and major college football universities and fans are cursed by the past. So when you see a 5-star middle linebacker who you watch his film and you're like, oh my God, this is Ray Lewis coming in. Who do you think of? You think of Andy Katzenmoyer because he came in as a freshman, dominated, sold 1 billion jerseys, went first round. Obviously, he had the neck injury that ended his career early in New England, but that's what people expect. If you're a 5-star linebacker, number one player in the country, they expect Katzenmoyer. And Andy had probably the best freshman season in school history with what he did and how dominant he was, and that's so abnormal. It'd be like if you had a 5-star tackle, number one overall player in the country show up and you expect them to be Orlando Pace. Like that's just completely abnormal. So I think CJ's got a different shot here because CJ, he's been in the program 3 years. James Laurinaitis is tasked with, turning this kid up. Hey, it's go time now. There's no more sitting behind Steel Chambers. There's no more sitting behind Tommy. It's go time. So, James has got, he wanted that job. And again, there isn't a player on this earth that I revere more than James Laurinaitis. But this is the flip of now you got the job. Now you got to go turn Sonny and CJ into All-Americans, because that's the expected level of production at Ohio State. So, it's on CJ. How good does he want to be? Forget the noise. Don't read the newspapers. Don't read the message boards, social media. He's got to go grind and become great. And if I was him, the best coach he could have on this entire earth is James Laurinaitis, because James was a computer on the field, and he was a very violent, nasty computer. But the way that guy could read defenses, study film, CJ's got to do everything James did. He's got to do it better than James did, because James was obviously an All-American, captain, NFL great, whatever. CJ's more athletic, so he's got to start turning up and being a pro like James was. Nevada, your thoughts? Curtis Grant, 5-star, did not live up to the potential. Do you see a similar trajectory to CJ, or does he break out this year?
No, look, the greatest gift that CJ Hicks ever got was James Laurinaitis being named the 10th coach at Ohio State. And, you can talk all about, anticipation, reading the defense, and, football instincts, football IQ. But, when you really boil that down to it was just he was seeing things, identifying them, and able to process them quickly enough to react. And to have a guy like that that's done it on the field, this isn't in theory. This isn't a guy that's watched a lot of defensive film, or a guy that knows what this is a guy that's actually done it and can say, hey, look, I'm watching the guards. I'm watching the tackle. When the tackle picks up his right hand and does this and moves one step to the left, I know immediately that he's going to pass that. It's things like that. And I think CJ is going to suck this stuff up like a sponge. And I think you'll see big increases. There's no way that you don't see improved play across the board from the linebackers. And so I think CJ is going to take a huge step up. And like I said, James Laurinaitis, there couldn't be a better role model. There couldn't be a better teacher. There could be a smarter guy to learn from. And look, CJ wants to get to the league. CJ wants to create generational wealth. He's got the opportunity. It's all in front of him. And I have no doubt in my mind that he'll grab the ring, because, as you said, he's more athletically gifted than James Laurinaitis ever was. It's a question of, can he get the mental thing to match up? And that's where James separated himself. But CJ can take a huge step, and I expect that he will.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Tony Turley, my man, one of our 3 Hall of Famers in our initial class. Thank you for the 10. Thanks for being an Ultra member. Thank you for all of the great legal stuff. It's been awesome to get to know you. Kirk, is it possible to have a body fat number over 100? That's been my goal. I don't think so. I think that, like, if you're 100% body fat, then you're like, I don't know, Charlie Weiss or something, or some of the guys I played with. I don't want to name names, but there had some fat guys that were like 40% body fat, which is ridiculous, grotesque. I don't think so, because I think it'd basically be like if you don't have any bones. Like, if your body fat was over 100, you'd basically be like a giant. You'd literally be pudding. Like, there wouldn't be a single ounce of muscle or bone density or anything. So I don't think so. Nevada. Is it possible to have a body fat number over 100? I think if you eat beef Wellington every day with a full strength Coke and an Oreo milkshake, you could try to work towards it. But I think you should just save that for like a couple times a year. But your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I think I don't think it's mathematically possible. Although it's been my goal. My goal has been to, like, eat as poorly as possible and then battle it with, like, Ozempic or some sort of drugs to kind of countermand the thing. So, like, I'm just counting on medical science and money to bail me out of my poor eating habits. So I'm kind of the test lab rabbit for all this stuff right now. So I'll you know how I'm doing.
I like that. You could get your stomach staple, take Ozempic, and I don't know what else you can do. I guess like a tummy tuck. You can just do it all simultaneously and say, just pump me full of Oreos and strawberries, and we'll just be good to go.
Exactly.
Philip Bielecki, MD, appreciate you. Thanks for being ultra member. Thanks for another chat tonight. Now, here's my real question. Been dying to ask: ever had to deal with concussions? Any friends affected? How do you feel about your boys playing tackle football? Nevada, do you want to have you? I mean, I can have you do this first because mine's probably gonna be longer than yours. Um, have you dealt with any concussions? Because again, you played sports. People don't realize that. Any friends affected? And your kids played football. But you go first, Nevada, because I'll be long-winded on this one.
Yeah, you're going to be long. You're going to be long. No, look, I would not let my kids play tackle football until they were older, because I do think that getting repetitive brain, trauma or whatever it is probably less than optimal for whatever reasons. And I don't know enough about it, but I'm just concerned about it, enough to not want that to happen. Like I've got one of my kids is a goalie in hockey, and just taking the puck off the mask always worries me, because I know it rattles the brain. I don't care how much padding or how much whatever you can say, that can't be good. Taking a puck at 100 miles an hour off the noggin. So look, no, I worry about that stuff, but for me personally, when I played long enough back then, when I remember getting hit so hard that my ears I'm not kidding you, my ears rang for like 3 days. Like the ringing would not go away. It was multiple days. And back then you just, you took a couple of Bear aspirin and drank a lot of water and went back out there and just hope for the best. But I'm sure that was not the right way to go about doing it. I'm sure that I was concussed, and but no, but I worry about it in young kids. Let's just put it that way. I worry about it in younger kids, and think that I don't think anybody should start playing tackle football until they're like 13 or 14. Just my personal opinion.
All right. Have I had to deal with concussions? Yes, of course. When you play major college football, you're going to get your bell rung decent amount. The worst one I ever got was actually from James Laurinaitis. It was Northwestern week of 2006. I'll never forget it. We were playing, we were scrimmaging, like we did in practice. The Trestle loved going ones versus ones to keep us sharp. And I was blocking. It was kind of a thing where I had to either block Vernon Golston or James. And it was like one of those things where, last second I turned in to take James because I felt like he was more dangerous. And James like tattooed me, the crown of his helmet. And again, he's a lot like Schlegel. Like when you're a smaller guy, like Schlegel, weighed 260 when he played middle linebacker. Now people see him, he's like he's like 185 with abs. Like he was like fat Schlegs back then. He was Budweiser's and ranch and pudding and whatever the hell else he ate. But he was big. So those guys would lead with the crown of their helmets when they would blitz, because that's like, it's like a way, basically it's a weapon to kind of stun an offensive lineman. And James did that, and he hit me under my chin, and I was gone. And I stayed in. I knew that I wasn't right. And then like the next play, I was like late. I gave up a sack. It was terrible. I told Jim Bowman, I'm like, look, I don't know what's wrong, but like I can't really see right now, and I don't think I can practice anymore. And so then I go to the staff, the medical guys, and again, I never did that. So like when I say something like that, it ain't because I'm trying to get out of a drill or get out of something. It's like, no, I literally I'm like in, I'm foggy. I'm very foggy right now. So they took me out of practice. They evaluated me. I didn't practice Thursday. This was a Wednesday. I took a baseline test on Friday to see if I could play. I was still a little foggy. And then Saturday, they said, hey, it's up to you. Do you want to try and warm up and play? And I'm like, hell yes, I'm playing. Are you crazy? I was like, and I still wasn't 100. I was nowhere near 100%. I was probably like 60%, but I ain't missing a start. I'm just telling you, because these NFL guys, if you miss starts and they look at that stat sheet and it says, well, why didn't you start this game? I'd already had a knee injury the year before. I missed 4 games, and 06, I started every game. 07, I started every game. But, like any injury you accumulate, it's kind of like, when you go to the combine, it's like a Carfax report. They go through your whole body. And so I was like, I'm not missing a game. So I'm going to get out here. We're going to whoop these guys. We're going to get out here. So, but I'll never forget, I was warming up in Evanston, which is like the coldest, crappiest field in the Big Ten. And I'm going against John Skinner, who's my backup in pregame warmups. Like you kind of do like a couple run fits. And I hit him one time and I was like, I am not feeling too hot, bro. And he looked at me and, he wasn't ready to go. Like my backups weren't ready to play. It wasn't like we had like a guy that was ready to go. We were thin on the O-line. So I had to go until we blew them out. We blew them out pretty good, thank God. And I was able to get out of there by like the beginning of the third quarter. But I was not feeling too hot. And again, I was just the back of my head is like, I can't miss the Michigan game because I have, because Michigan, I think, was next week. So I don't want to be dinged. And so, yeah, that was the worst one I ever had by far. And it's just like, I couldn't believe I played. And like today, they probably don't let me play, but I just wanted to play. I'm like, look, I'm here to play. I'm not here to wait. And I don't want to be left home. And, there's nothing more miserable than not playing. The only thing worse than playing with a bad concussion is not playing. So it put me in the game. Any friends affected? Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys have had bad ones. And, a concussion is the worst injury in sports because guys don't believe that you have a real concussion. Like if you break your leg in half or you have a torn ACL, you can show them the MRI, you can show them the X-ray, the bone can be poking out of the skin, whatever. Nobody believes you when you have a concussion unless you're knocked unconscious. Like, because there's people that have like because concussions have a lot of variants. It's just like an ankle sprain. An ankle sprain can keep you out for a week or it can keep you out for 3 months, depending on how bad it is. So a concussion, it sucks getting a concussion because everyone's like, oh, you're just trying to get out of practice. Oh, you don't want to play. You're not tough, whatever. And on the flip, there are kids that will milk a concussion because they hate football. There were guys that I played with at Ohio State that hated football. They didn't want to play. They couldn't wait to be done with their scholarship and go off into Neverland and go off into real life. So it sucks. And in terms of how do I feel about my boys playing tackle football, I'd like to hold them as long as possible, probably 7th grade. I know that that's going to slow their development. And again, that's why I was a late bloomer. I didn't play football until 8th grade. I didn't start a football game until 9th grade. So in 8th grade, I was a bench player because I didn't know anything I was doing. I literally didn't, I couldn't remember the plays. It was a foreign land to me. And I just moved up to Ohio. So, again, football gave me everything in life, literally my entire livelihood, my life, my wife, my kids, like everything's because of Ohio State football. So I never forget about that. But I think the longer you can hold the kids out, the better, just because you don't want to have kids get beat to death by poor coaches. And again, it's not like some of the dads and stuff that are working and coaching the kids. It's not that they're malicious or they're bad parents, but a lot of them just have no idea what they're doing because they just want to coach their son. And I get that. I totally get that. I coached Dublin youth football with my best friend Todd Miller 10 years ago. And and we went against some parents that really didn't know what they were doing, but we were 2 college football coaches, so we really knew what we were doing. So I want my kids to play tackle football. I think it teaches you a lot about life and perseverance and toughness and how to get through bad spots. But I don't want them to get too beat up too early, not because they're soft, but I've seen guys peak in 8th grade because they've had shoulder surgeries and then tear their knee, and by the time they get to high school, they're already beat to death. So you want them to peak at the right time, and that was something that I felt like I did. I was an NFL draft pick and All-American, and my body feels great right now, so it's all good. But again, great question, Philip. Again, you're a huge asset to the Scoop community, so thank you for all you do. Beach Buck, thank you for the 5. Damon Arnett being the most recent. Who wins the infamous bad boy Buckeye title? Claret, Art Schliessner, another. I mean, God, it's hard to put Maurice in the same as Art Schliessner. I mean, no one can touch Art Schliessner in terms of how bad of a human being he is. It's got to be him. I mean, I don't think that there's another recent one. I mean, again, I don't like really awarding this because it highlights guys that are maybe have a substance problem or whatever. Nevada, is there anybody you can think of an infamous bad boy Buckeye title? Again, you can't really put anybody in the same category as Art Schliessner, in my opinion.
Yeah, we've had murderers, so but Art's bad, and which is really a shame because I loved Art Schliessner growing up. Absolutely loved him. Loved the way he played, loved his swagger, loved the way he brought the forward pass to Ohio State, loved the way he wore his white socks. Did love those. It's like Reno Hightower, man. He loved the high white socks, but just thought he was a terrific player and just just a bad human being. So yeah, it just makes me sad thinking about it. So he's probably the winner, but it's a tough topic for sure.
Yeah, like I don't really want to name somebody. I mean, obviously Damon's got major problems. He's got to figure out what he wants to do, and again, like that's part of the reason you take a guy first round and you put him in Vegas. Like him and Henry Ruggs were 2 guys that's why people were worried of it. Now again, if you're a guy that is going to seek out trouble, like you can find trouble anywhere. So But obviously Vegas is a different beast, and you got to be able to tame it. Akeem, the Dream, Treasure the Torah. Thanks for the 20, brother. Appreciate you and all you do. Thank you for being one of my really, really great friends and a guy who is maybe as encouraging as anybody I've ever met. You're an awesome dude, and the people that really get to know you are blessed because you're such a good dude. Thank you for the 20, brother. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for holding it down with Devin as a wrench brother and along with Kim, the wrench sister. Kirk, stay golden and stay strapped up. Love it. Appreciate you, brother. And to Nevadabuck, Kirk, I'm going to pay for Bob. Call me Googs Googliata so he can become a Buckeye Scoop Ultra member. We have to get his contact info, and I will pay for it in full. Okay, we will figure out how to do that because I do not know how to do that. Again, but we will figure that out. But I appreciate you as always. Nevada, your thoughts on Torah. Again, he has been an absolute godsend to regulating the chat along with Devin. Your thoughts on our boy Akeem the Dream.
Yeah, just so generous, so encouraging, and I just hear so many nice comments from people that are in the chat, that are part of the community, that just talk about the great job you guys do, and just really appreciate. Don't ever think that it's not appreciated, because it's sincerely appreciated by not only me but everybody in the community. So thanks, Torah.
Yeah, you're the man, bro. Appreciate all you do, and catch up soon. I got to get some stuff done tonight, but we'll catch up if not tonight, tomorrow. Our honor defend. Thanks for the deuce. Will there be visits during the home playoff games, as in official visits? I don't think so. That is a great question. I don't know how they'll handle that. I would imagine no, maybe. I mean, I'm sure the kids could buy tickets, but that would be a huge advantage, having a home playoff game, be able to host players. But I don't know that answer. Honestly, I'm completely guessing. I would say no. I would say that it would kind of turn into like what you don't have visitors at the Big Ten championship or bowl games. I think it would kind of be the similar rules. Even if you're, I don't know, like if the Miami Hurricanes were playing the national championship in the Orange Bowl, their home arena, like I don't think they'd be allowed to have recruits there. So I think it would be a similar deal to that. But again, I don't know, but I would assume no. That'd be a huge advantage, but that is a great question. Nevada, do you know, will there be visits during home playoff games?
I don't believe so. I mean, I believe that is, that's I don't know if it's a dead period, or certainly a dead period for visiting. I don't believe that they're going to change that because of the home playoff game. So I would say no, but let me check to see on the latest stuff, the NCAA, see if they've changed anything on the calendar.
Devin, you're the best, man. I appreciate you guys so much for what you do. Ohio 7715, aka Devin, aka Cujo, the keeper of the Cujo. Cujo is his pet raccoon who's on his shoulder there. Thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for being one of the Wrench Brothers. That will be a t-shirt. I'm going to design a Wrench Brothers t-shirt for and have you guys on it. That'll be hilarious. Thank you for the 200, man. That's exceptionally generous. Thank you, my friend. Michigan sucks. Yes, they do. Thank you so much for all of our first responders, military, cops, and people that help people. Help your neighbor tomorrow, unless they're a scum fan, then don't help them. That is great advice. That should be like the 11th commandment. Seriously, Nevada, OH.
I-O.
So Devin is hilarious. And again, I'm on a group text with him and Akeem where it's nonstop hilarity. And I appreciate you guys so much for all you guys do and for moderating the chat and keeping the chat fun and exciting and lively. So thank you for all you do. Nevada thoughts for Devin, aka my man, Ohio 7715.
Just again, we just feel blessed to have met such great, generous people with such big hearts, and that kind of share their open thoughts on it. And this community is only going to be as good as the people in it. And when you have great people like this kind of leading it, it's just a great place to hang out. I know it's one of the reasons why I look forward to these shows so much. I know Kirk feels the same way. So just thank you, Devin, for being a part of this. Generous with your financial resources, but generous with your time. And I know you love the show, and we love having you here. So thanks so much.
And I got some gear coming for you guys, some specially made gear. So I need your hat sizes and your shirt hoodie sizes. So that's you, Akeem, and Devin. You've got my cells. So put it in the group chat, and I'll actually drop some of the stuff off today. It is going to be very slick stuff. Stuff that's specially made just for you guys. Jeremy Moreland, thank you for the 10. Again, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for being an Ultra member. I understand if they get away from conference championship games, but man, me and my wife loved going, have been since before COVID. So looking forward to it and St. Elmo's. Indy is a great host to football. I love St. Elmo's. I'm just telling you, like the Elmo Cola, this is a true story. I swear to God. I pitched it at Nevadabuck's restaurant in Manhattan Beach. And I said, you know what? You should call it, what did I call it? I said you should call it the Boston George. And it should be the Elmo Cola, which is like, it's like an old school, old fashioned Coke. I don't know if it's a Mexican Coke or what it is, but it's like the old fashioned pure sugar Coke or whatever. And it's the infused cherries that are infused with that Maker's Mark. It's like a great drink. And they're like, God, they're like $25 a piece or something crazy at St. Elmo's. They're expensive, but they're delicious. And I said, Nevada, at your restaurant, which is in Manhattan Beach, which is, if you guys have seen the movie Blow, which is one of the greatest movies ever made with Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz, all of that goes down in Manhattan Beach. Like that's where Boston George was from. That's where he first started selling marijuana, and he started his little empire with tuna and Pee Wee Herman's in it as like the guy who's like the plug or whatever that gets them the cocaine. Again, this is a family show, so I'm not gonna go too much into it, but it's a great movie. And so I was like, well, it's a drink that's Coke based, so it's gonna be funny. You should call it the Boston George, put it on the menu, sell them for $25. They're delicious. And the manager laughed at me, and I was like, that's a great idea. And you thought it was a good idea, even though now you're gonna say you thought it was an idiotic idea, but that is like my favorite cocktail at like a nice restaurant is the St. Elmo Cola. It's delicious. So I haven't been to Indy in a long time, but that's like the first thing I want to get when I get there. Nevada, Jeremy loves going to the Big Ten Championship in Indy. I think Indy is a great host city. It's great for Ohio State because it's a quick 3-hour drive right on 70. St. Elmo's is awesome. Nevada, have you been to St. Elmo's?
I've never been. I've never been to St. Elmo's. No, even though my brother lived in Indiana, my brother lived in Carmel, and so he's God rest his soul, but his family when he married into his family, they were all from Indiana. So used to go there frequently, but never made it to St. Elmo's. Never got to drink the St. Elmo's Cola. And it was a great idea, but you got to understand, I used all my good ideas. When you own restaurants, you got to pick your spots with your staff. And so I picked my spot. I'm getting a baked potato on the menu. And so I couldn't really influence it. And if I did this, I was not going to call it the Boston. We actually already have a drink on our menu called the Boston George, believe it or not. But I was going to call this drink the Big. Yeah, we do. I was going to, check the menu out. There's a Boston George on there right now. But I was going to call it the Big Cuddly Bear and have that on there. And that would be more kind of appropriate and more fitting. But I think it's a great idea. I personally do. But like I said, I gotta pick my spots when I do. Maybe we get it on the menu at SDK. We get the whole thing kind of put out there at SDK.
I think that's the move. So the signature Elmo Cola, I had to look this up. It is you mix a glass bottle Coke or Diet Coke, and this has changed recently. So now they have their very own St. Elmo cherry vanilla whiskey mix. It used to be like an infused Maker's Mark and Drunken Cherries, and they're $15. So if you tip good, it's like $25 after taxes and stuff. But they're expensive, but they are delicious. But yeah, it did not used to be the St. Elmo's branded cherry vanilla whiskey. It used to be like it was an infused Maker's Mark. I remember that because I tried to make it, and like most stuff that's like really good, if you try to make it at home, kind of sucks. So it was not as good. Well, Nevada, this is a great show. This thing ran really good and long. I appreciate you guys as always. Final thoughts. Thank you guys for everything you guys did tonight. Final thoughts, Nevada.
Yeah, final show of February 2024. We're now into March. We're now on I guess like 5 sleeps away from spring football. So I couldn't be more excited about that. And again, just thank you guys for making it a great show. I've mentioned this a couple times, but we're closing in on 30,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel, which is just a historic accomplishment for us. That'll be a big show as well. But we'll see you tomorrow night. And we love being the Buckeye wrap-up show. You can kind of get all your Buckeye news in one 90-minute swath here at the end of the evening. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, and it's fun because we own the night. Like that's something we're going to start saying because like we love the night. The night's our thing. So we appreciate you guys as always, and thanks for owning the night with us, talking Ohio State football. Again, appreciate you guys as always. Fantastic night, great crowd, lively, fantastic questions per usual. Again, you guys really bring it. It's a big show because you guys make it one, and we appreciate that, and we own the night together. So thank you for all you guys do to help us do that. With that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like. The thumbs up are huge for growing the channel. We're at 29. We're over 500. We're at 29,500 and change right now. So we're closing in. We're about 490 or 80ish away from hitting the magical 30,000 mark. So thank you guys for spreading the good word. The growth is all organic. So thank you guys for helping us out, spreading the word about Buckeye Scoop. If you guys like this content, please click subscribe if you have not yet. If you love our live shows, there's a little bell, get an alert. When you get that alert, again, it'll get an alert on your phone, your iPad, or whatever device you're logged into for YouTube, your TV, and you'll never miss a live show. Because again, the fun about this is it's fun to interact with you guys. Great questions, great camaraderie in the chat, and we appreciate it. Special thank you to our Wrench brothers, which is Devin, aka Ohio 7715, and Akeem, aka Treasure of the Torah. Those guys keep it nice and clean. And also my wife, Kim, she is in the mix every night when she's not dealing with our two kids, one which has a broken arm and one which has a broken leg. So she has to deal with our little broken kids right now, but she still has the phone in her hand while she's dealing with the kids. So thank you, all three of you, for helping us out and moderating. Again, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Got to make a trip down to Southern Ohio pretty soon, folks. So we've got some stuff cooking down there. So I can go see my Southern Ohio boys. Shout out my guys down in Gallipolis, Portsmouth, Huntington, West Virginia, Chesapeake, South Point. Those are my folks. And I love how much Ohio State fever there is down there. And I know you guys don't have coverage on the local news, so you guys need us. You need BuckeyeScoop.com to get your Buckeye fix. So I appreciate you guys. Great people down there. Have a Tudor's biscuit for me, and go to Pullman Square and go to Cold Stone. So appreciate you guys. That being said, as always, thank you guys for all you guys do for us. Thank you for making this a huge show. Again, thank you for watching this with your family, making us part of your night. We own the night together, and it is an absolute blast. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Go Bucks.